Hi Astro Addicts, my name is Tim and welcome back to Astro Addict. Editing our images is a very important part of this hobby and there are so many ways to do it. In this video I will show you my editing workflow in Adobe Photoshop. I will edit Andromeda Galaxy from a night back in November 2020 and you can follow me along because I will share all of this imaging data in the description below. Go download the data, edit alongside and see if you can achieve a better result than me. The software I will be using in this video is Deep Sky Stacker for stacking, Adobe Photoshop, Starnet++ and the Astronomy Tools Action Set. All links in the description, except for Photoshop, because yeah. In the case you're already familiar with stacking in DSS, you can use the timestamps to skip to the editing part. But if you want a more detailed explanation of DSS, which I just can't cover in this single video, I have a dedicated DSS video on the channel. Go check it out. Alright, here we are in Deep Sky Stacker. The first thing we need to do is to load all of our files. At first you go on the top left, open picture files, and we will load our light frames, the actual images of the night. I have them in my projects folder, editing tutorial lights over here. Now those are a lot of 3-minute exposures. The more you have, the better. Now we load the dark files. I have everything in the correct folders. No, not this one. Darks. Flat frames to correct vignetting and dust. Flats. Dark flats. Dark frames for the flat frames. You may not need them, but if you can take them, it's always better. Editing tutorial, dark flats. Alright, and bias frames. I've had some comments that for the ZWO cameras you shouldn't take bias frames, that the manufacturer is advising against it, but I don't see a reason why to do that. I didn't educate myself on it, but I don't think that this could harm the image in an actual way. So I will open the bias frames as well. And now with all of these images loaded, we can see that we have 3-minute exposures throughout. Everything here that is not calculated will be calculated as soon as we hit registering. And yes, let's go over the settings real quick, because yes, we can check them all, we want to use most of them. Register. Automatic detection of hot pixels. Let's stack the best 90 of the frames to throw out 10% of the worst frames. The star detection threshold is just to speed up the entire process. Compute. 261 stars, that's enough. If I would push it down to the default 10%, each time calculating would take this long and it would detect thousands of stars, which is not necessary. If you get at least 150, between 150 and 300, the registering, the stack, the grouping of the files will still work, but it will be faster. So 50% in these images is fine. The recommended settings, I use most of the recommended ones. Sigma clipping, I will calibrate the RGB values later in Photoshop. The stacking parameters, standard is fine. I will not drizzle because most of the times Photoshop can't handle the large drizzle files. I've set everything here, and again, if you want an in-depth tutorial, go to the link up here. Kappa Sigma clipping, median kappa clipping, alignment will be automatic. It will just choose the, depending on how many stars it can detect. TIFF, yes, Photoshop can't work with fits. Cosmetic correction is not necessary, we have decent flats and darks. Yes. Create output file. Okay. And that's about it. DSS is pretty simple. If I hit OK now, I will have my final image in 15 minutes, 10 minutes. Let's see. And I will have about 5 hours and 30 minutes of data, which is pretty good. Let's go. And I will pause the video just here, but I will tell you how long this took. Again, I have a pretty fast PC, which is made for stacking like this. The processor is amazing. Be right back. And here we are. You know, if you look at this picture, you may think, how are we going to get something great out of this? It looks like a green jumble with barely anything in it. But we can get something good out of this. And now we will jump into Photoshop. And over here we will, of course, load this file. DSS always spits out the file in the same folder as the light frames, so we will go there, lights, and the autosave file. Open this one, please. And you can see I did some trial and error before. Now here we are. I guess I don't need the character and paragraph anymore. This is my standard workspace I used in Photoshop. Now I'm already moved on to PixInsight, but I saved this workspace, which is pretty fine. On the left, you can see the Astronomy tools action set. Now these are just some actions that consists mostly out of many different steps to make your editing easier and more successful. We will use some of them, and I will also need the info panel and the adjustments. And this entire processing is based on the non-destructive workflow, which means at each step we can go back all the way how we want to. Meaning we will never lose any data. The only downside, your file size will become huge, multiple gigabytes in one Photoshop file. That's how it is. You can save the entire progress in the meantime, and maybe flatten the image, save, flatten the image and walk on. But let's see how fast this machine can get this process. The first thing I like to do is to convert this image. The image is in 32 bits. I don't know any monitor or phone that can handle 32 bits. And most of the adjustments can't. That's why we will go to convert, image, mode, convert to 16 bits. Since we didn't have any layers, merge them, why not? It's only one. And the method is exposure and gamma. Just applying a basic transformation from 32 bits to 16 bits. Here we are. The image got a bit lighter. That's always the case. The first thing we need to do is to do the color calibration. Now, in Photoshop you can do only one type of color calibration, which is RGB balancing. We will balance out the brightest spots and the darkest spots in the image. And how do we know where these are? We use the threshold layer. So just in the adjustments panel we can do threshold. If you don't have this panel, you can also go to layer and new adjustment layer, threshold over here. And it will put this on top. Now we can adjust the slider and see the darkest spots in the image, maybe somewhere around over here maybe. And I can see this image is pretty flat already. We need to crop the edges also. We have galaxy and background, and if I go only one step down, the entire image is white. The background is pretty well even lit, thanks to our flat frames and the filter. And the brightest spot in the image is some of these stars. I don't want to use them. Stars can have color, and if I accidentally pick a star that is blue or red, it will screw up the entire calibration. I will use the center of the galaxy. I will zoom in and pick the color sampler tool. Set to 5x5 average and click in the center over here. Now we have the info panel. And the value right now is of course 255, but this will change. And the darkest spot in the image, let's pick... What's the darkest spot in the image? Somewhere around, let's pick something not very close to the edge, but maybe here, where there's no star around in the 5x5 average. Now we can delete the threshold layer and let's crop the image actually. Crop over here. Just crop the edges to get rid of stacking artifacts. Not that much. Alright. Points are not deleted, great. Now, the first color calibration, I will bring out the info panel over here so we can see it. While we adjust the levels adjustment layer, we will go into red. We can see over here the lowest value we have for red. Now, the lowest value we have is 48. My liking is to push this around 30 for each value, and some people do 15, but I think 15 is too dark to get some stretching going. So I will push this black slider to 30 in the red, 30 in the green, and 30 in the blue. And after that I will also adjust the... Now we have an even background. And now already adjust the white point. Now you don't want to adjust to a specific value, just the highest value there is. You don't want to brighten your image too much. So the highest value here is 181. And go over there. You can see the black point already shifted, so let's get that back. Just balance everything out, which can be tough sometimes. 81, 30... Now it jumps back between 31 and 29, that's okay. And red. 181. 30. 181. Alright. Now, a very important step in this non-destructive workflow is to stamp all the layers on top. With the level selected, I'm gonna hit a shortcut. Control, Alt, Shift and E, which will stamp everything visible. Now we combine the layer 1 with the levels adjustment layer to get this. If I now deactivate this, we can see the before and after. Alright, I will keep the info panel open to make more adjustments later. And now, what should we do next? I guess the next thing is stretching our image. Getting all the details to show. Now, you can do multiple ways of stretching in Photoshop. I tried out some actions which can actually do it, but I'm not very happy with those. Let's play one of these to see how it looks. No, just no. I don't use the curves in Photoshop, I use the levels. But let's actually make a stamp and call this stretched. And I will not apply the adjustment layer, I will apply the basic adjustment, the levels. Now, in multiple steps, we will move the gray point and also the black point. Number 1, and do it just as many times as you are comfortable with. And as you do this, you need to check the RGB levels, and these will get out of tune again. Once more, and we can see more of the galaxy. Maybe just once or twice more. Now we can see more data popping up over here. And you never want to go past the column because you're losing data in the background. There's nothing there anymore. Alright, go to here. And now we can already see gradients in our image, which is not nice. I will make a final stretch. Go to black, push it in. And also balance the background. Again, push it to 30. Red, green, getting everything back to 30 so our background is nice and evenly lit. Now this blue was pretty strong, which I guess is due to the filter I used. Now we can see some decent data in this image. Should I do one more stretch? I think so. Well, this is quite hard. I almost clipped the dark edges, which is not good. Even if you almost clip the edges, it's not good. Because in many images I see many people starting out are just pushing the black point so widely in that that the background is almost pure black, which doesn't look nice in my opinion. But as you can see, I can't push this in more. It will just ruin the details. So let's use this and instead go for a curves adjustment. To the standard S curve to get the galaxy popping out. Look at this. Amazing. Right, stamp. And what are our levels? Hello. Why is my info box gone? Strange. I will need to balance this out again. I will need to place the... Here they are. Alright. Photoshop, why not? As you can see, this is now pushed past 30, below 30. And I will just do it once more to get it now to an even 20, let's say. Maybe not 20 because we need to... Let's go an even 25. And stamp. Alright, the next thing we want to do is to get rid of the coloring you see in the background. Now, since we used flats and a pretty good filter, we don't have a strong gradient. If you are struggling with gradients, I did many times in Photoshop editing, there is a plugin you can purchase. It's called the Gradient Exterminator. But if you don't use Photoshop that much, I think it's pretty expensive. But if you use it every day, it's worth it. I don't have it, that's why I will go the old school method of creating a synthetic flat frame. Let's do this. I will call this layer gradient, copy this entire thing and go to a new file and paste it in. And now I will apply the filter, layer 1, filter, noise, dust and scratches. And this is very aggressive. And I forgot to do one thing. I want to create an image that consists out of the background we want to erase. But this galaxy is in the way. I will use the, is it this? Yes. The spot healing brush tool and I will literally erase the galaxy. And also the halo it creates, because we want to keep that. Alright, and also the smaller one. This can work now to filter, noise, dust and scratches. So setting this to a maximum is not necessarily good, but you want to get rid of all the details, so I will use this. Now we have created a synthetic flat frame. This file is called untitled1 and we will apply it to the image. Gradient, image, apply image. The source will be the one we created and the blending mode will be subtract. Now you can see if an offset of 0 will create this, which is not good. And the offset will be our levels we try to push this entire image to. 25, 30, 35, as your liking is. I will go for 30, so I have room to adjust later. And if I now change the opacity over here, you can see how much this is actually doing. Can I zoom in with this open? No. This is the gradient before. And if I go to 50, it's better, but we can, damn it, but we can go for 100 because our flat frame is pretty good. You can preview on and off to see the before and after. Now this image is pretty much flat, as we call it. Apply. Now the gradient is erased without any expensive plugins. But as I said, this is an easy process. if you have maybe nebulosity in most of the parts of the image, it can be quite hard doing it without a plugin or a dedicated software. And now we want to work on the details, on the coloring, on everything. And that is why the most of these processes should not be applied to the stars. Things like sharpening, you can do a little bit of sharpening to the stars, but in many cases we want to reduce the stars, because they just block our view of this amazing galaxy. All the stars you see here are in our own galaxy, we don't need those, we want Andromeda. Alright, I will save this file on my desktop. Call it M31. TIFF file, very important. No compression. And here it is. Because we stamped the topmost layer, the TIFF file will represent exactly this. I will go to my desktop. Here we are, and here's the folder of Starnet, the star removal software, which works pretty good. I will move my TIFF file in here. It's called M31. I will now need to edit the batch file. Alright, mono Starnet, no, not mono, color RGB, this one. .exe on the autosave.tiff, no, on M31. And it will spit out the M31_S. Save. Now I will run, which one should I run? I think I will run this one. Yes, now the software is running. 2501 tiles in this image. Depending on how large your image is, my ASI camera only has 12 megapixels. It's not that much. But it will take pretty long. If I drizzled this image, which could have made sense, but for the sake of this tutorial, the drizzling process is pretty much advanced. It would have spread this tutorial out over many hours. Alright, this can take a long time. Be right back. The process has finished. We now have our files in here, M31 and M31_S. I will take those into Photoshop. Get the folder and put them up here. Here we have our starless M31, which looks amazing. And, well, this is the image as we have. Let's save this one, not touch it, and work on these two. I will actually create the star layer. We want to work on the stars as well. We'll copy this in here. No. Oh yes, that's the same image. I will flatten this because we have everything saved in here and work on here. Now I think it's this way, and we will choose subtract. Now we have our stars. And stars. Alright. Starless. Star mask. What do we want to do with the stars? No, let's work on this one first. We want to reduce noise, get out details, get out color. Yes, let's start by reducing noise. You could do a mask, but we'll use masks later. For now, I will go for, at first, the action, which one? Space noise reduction. And run it. You can see it's creating a mask on its own. Now I will press Ctrl Z for backstep, and we'll have the action over here. Space noise reduction. And we can take a look at it. Before. It didn't do that much actually, but I don't want it to affect the details. And if we don't want it to affect the details that much, lower the opacity. Going in thirds is fine. Yes. Alright. Stamp. Deep space noise reduction, which mostly samples the background. Again, Control Z and zoom in. You can see the fine noise got a lot more smoothed out, but also our galaxy, question mark? Actually, no. That's why I will keep this. Alright. Deep space noise reduction. And to get some more details out, I will also use enhance DSO and reduce stars, which in this case will not reduce any stars. And it's done. I don't know if I like what it did, because you see it made the entire image less of this green and more purple. Let's see how much the details got out. Well, it brightened the entire subject, but I don't know if I like it. Opacity 1/3. Enhance DSO. And now let's use local contrast enhancement, which is one of my favorite tools. It will give us way more contrast inside of the galaxy. And that is also why we don't want to use it on the stars, because they will be crunched up as well. Something is not right here. We'll paste again, and on this one, local contrast enhancement. I guess it's crunching away because here we go, because we removed the stars. But now you can see the dust lanes are way darker, which is amazing. I want to keep this. Now for the purpose of this tutorial, flatten this and work on. Make the background darker and get color up. So let's, for the background darkening, just move in the black point. And we will also need our info boxes back. Color sampler tool, this one and this one. Because the levels are not even anymore. 15 and 15. And you can see that the white point is pretty much off it goes. Alright, blue. We want to have a nice color balancing. Alright, the noise is not exactly nice, but I will tell you a method how you can deal with that. Now we need to create a mask. A pretty good mask on this galaxy. How should we do this? Select and color range. We need let's go for the midtones. And select this entire galaxy. We want to work on this. But we will refine this mask even more. Go into selected mask. Alright. Smooth. Maximum. And let it crunch away on that. And I will also push the feather to 50. And now we have a pretty smooth and even mask to apply some stuff on. And I will apply a saturation boost. Look at these. This is also why you need a very smooth mask, because even with the maximum smoothness, we have a pretty great discrepancy here. But I will keep this. Stamp. Select and mask again. No. I will need to do this again. Do the exact same thing. But invert this mask to get rid of this green haze in the background. Now there is a plugin you can purchase. No, not purchase, it's free. It's called Hasta La Vista Green, HLVG. which can get rid of a green cast in your image, but it doesn't work with the newest Photoshop versions anymore, which sucks. Let's just do it in this way. Again, saturation, and decrease the saturation in these parts of the image. Which is not traditional, let's say, but I don't see any way around it. And for the final creative looking touch, let's pull up some blues in the entire thing. Now let's actually go more about this noise reduction. Again, create the mask. Creating a good mask is very important. You basically always want to use a mask if you want to work on a specific part of the image. Invert. Now I hope this actually works. Filter, camera raw. Detail, sharpening, noise reduction. No, it does not work. It also denoises the galaxy, which we don't want. But I guess we can give it another S-curve. This is too drastic, but it looks kinda impressive, let's say. Alright, now we have this. I could go about sharpening, but the noise in here is not that nice. And sharpening this, actually let's go about a tiny bit of sharpening, just so that you know how it works. Include less of the galaxy, and don't smooth it out that much. And don't feather it out that much. And actually let's get rid of, while holding Alt, get rid of the companion in the selection. And let's also get rid of the core. We don't want to sharpen that. Select again, because now we have this border. Smooth it again. And feather the border. Alright, filter, sharpening, sharpen, unsharpen mask. And the preview is not always nice. Just hit OK and choose a value you like. You see the noise is now way worse, but if we zoom out, the details are much better. I hope you can see it on the rendered video. Alright, let's work on the stars. Now, reducing the stars is controversial, maybe. We want to see the galaxy in this image. But we also want to get some stars, but not this mass of stars. Do I need to create a mask? No, I don't think so. You could again create a mask on this one to get the brightest stars out of the reduction process and only reduce the smallest ones, which can look impressive, but let's keep it simple. Reduce the stars. Now, reducing the stars is a pixel operation, and the experts call it a morphological transformation, which I learned about everything in the university. I had actually compute these things myself, which is a hell of a work on a mono image, and on a color image doing it yourself. No, thank you. Select the layer, filter, other, minimum. You see, the stars seem to get darker, but what actually happens is that they get smaller. We want to preserve the roundness, not the squareness, because it will just erase everything that's really small. I still want to not erase that. Radius of 5 can be too much. Yes. But I will see how this looks. Let's keep it at a 3 maybe. No. 4? Yes, a 4 seems good. And now m31.tiff. Yes. 31. Now we have two images with the same name, which is not good. How do I do this? Save as. Just underscore stars, which hopefully renames this, yes. And apply. Image, apply. The blending mode will be add. And the stars. And here they are. Now this looks very... I want more of those stars. Filter minimum 2.5. Now 3. Apply again. It's always about going back and forth and see what you like. This is much better. And I guess I will do... You can see the dark blotches around the stars. That's due to the morphological process. And we can do a little bit more. Not a curve, but levels. Make the background darker. We can't move in that much further. You see we're losing detail down here. But let's reduce a tiny bit and get a more dramatic look in this one. Not that much. Now this is a pretty good image actually. Can we go back to... I will take all of this and move it on top of here to see our entire progress. With all of this editing going from here to this one. Now the most important thing in my opinion is that we only used pixel operations. We did not use an AI to sharpen the image, to actually change pixel values without any correlation. We still want to only use the image and nothing else. And we achieved that pretty well, I'd say. I would be pretty happy with this image if I took it back 2 years ago. But at the end of this video I will also show how good I was able to process this image with APP, Pixel and PixInsight with the special editing software. But this looks pretty nice actually. I could do more. You can always do more, but at some point you need to sit back and contemplate if you are not doing too much. And I actually would like to have the background darker, but as I said, if we now... Oh. No thanks. If we now move the background, which I've seen many images from beginners, something like this. Yes, there's no noise, but there's nothing here. We don't want that. Get the background there. And now let's check again. The background is red now at, let's say, a darker area. The darker areas are now at 8, which is pretty dark. But yeah, I don't think I would do much more to this image. This video has been going on for quite some time. But I know that some people... Should I sharpen the stars? No. But you now know, if you want to sharpen the stars even more, you know the process. Get a star mask going and use the unsharp mask. These images you take are your images only and you can decide what to do with them. And if you edited alongside and you got the same result as me, and even a better one maybe, always nice to learn, I'd say. Paste. Final. Saving the image, I've seen people saving as JPEG, which I don't like, because it's a compressive, it's a loss of data. I will save as PNG, which is uncompressed. M31 Photoshop tutorial. Again, at the end of this video I will show, of course, this one and how good I was able to edit all of this in PixInsight. I have two versions of this data with PixInsight. The first one and a reprocess with less noise reduction and more sharpening, which looks very noisy, but it also looks kinda cool. So yeah. Well, this has been the Photoshop part of this tutorial, and don't forget, you can get the original files with the link in the description. I share most of my imaging data with my fellow Patreon supporters, and sometimes here and there a free badge for everyone to learn editing. You can either get the autosave image or the entire raw files to go through the entire process again. If you want to support the channel, you can go to the Patreon page where you can find more data and a few more editing tutorials from time to time. Also, if you have any more questions, leave them in the comments down below. And as for me, my name is Tim, I'm an Astro Addict. I wish you clear skies and may the night be with us.